Welcome to Nice and Blunt. It's week 2 and it's time for the running back rankings. All right, so at number 1, I've got Alvin Kamara, who has a pretty good matchup against Carolina. I think he is the engine of this offense, and he's going to get plenty of work. I've got him at number 1. And number 2 may surprise you, but it's an amazing matchup, and I really just trust Nick Chubb that much. He fumbled last week, so I think he's going to have a big chip on his shoulder, and really Houston's defense is atrocious. And even though they were able to hold the Jaguars' offensive line in check, and I really don't think that that's going to happen here. I really feel confident in Nick Chubb. And part of that is because of the matchups for the other 3 top 5 running backs. At Arizona, they really shut down Derrick Henry and the Tennessee Titans last week, so I'm a little worried about Dalvin Cook. At number 4, Derrick Henry at Seattle. I think he is going to try and redeem himself, but again, Seattle is a tough defense. They held Jonathan Taylor to without a touchdown, so because there isn't that much passing work for Derrick Henry, I think he may be capped in the upside, but obviously still a top 5 guy. And then Christian McCaffrey versus New Orleans. I can't rank him any lower than 5, but this is going to be a tough game against New Orleans, who really shut down the Green Bay Packers and Aaron Jones last week. So I'm just a little bit worried about Christian McCaffrey. I would stay away in daily. I really like Nick Chubb and Alvin Kamara this week as my top 2 running backs. But obviously you're starting all of those guys, so let's go into the top 10. At number 6, I think it's a bounce back game for Aaron Jones versus Detroit on Monday night. I really don't think they can stop him, and even though David Bakhtiari in the offensive line is a little bit downgraded, I really think that they are going to have a lot of motivation to blow out Detroit, and it won't be that difficult. So give me Aaron Jones at number 6. At number 7, I like Austin Eckler versus Dallas, a defense that really doesn't scare you. This game has a bit of shootout potential, so it's possible that the Chargers need to score 30, and if that happens, then Austin Eckler will get plenty of looks. So I like him as a top 10 guy this week. David Montgomery moves up to number 8. I had him really low last week, but it was just because of the matchup. I didn't like the Rams. However, he was just fine. He had a few really big plays, and all of my concerns for him go away, and he's got a great matchup this week against Cincinnati, so he is definitely inside my top 10. I've got him at number 8. Number 9, making his home field debut in Pittsburgh, Najee Harris, the first-round pick for the Steelers, and I think they really want to prove that this pick was, worth it and give him plenty of looks. I don't really worry about Las Vegas's run defense. They weren't able to stop Tyson Williams. Lamar Jackson, obviously no one can really stop him, but even Latavius Murray got things going, and I think that Najee Harris is probably going to score a touchdown in this game. I think it's a pretty safe bet that happens. So he is definitely in my top 10. I love the matchup. Number 10, I got Ezekiel Elliott, who is going to redeem himself from last week. It's not as tough of a matchup. The Chargers' strength on defense is their secondary, not the front 7. But this isn't like a cake matchup either. I just think there's going to be a lot of volume, and they really want to get Zeke involved because he really struggled last week. I'm not too excited about Tony Pollard's role in this offense when it comes to Zeke's fantasy potential. So I still respect him enough to keep him inside the top 10, but I could not put him any higher. This feels a little bit optimistic. Let's hope that it pays out. At number 11, I'm worried about this matchup, but really trust the workload. I kind of want to put him inside the top 10, but I'm just not ready to do that. Jonathan Taylor going up against the Rams. This is a bit of a downgrade because of this matchup. It's not easy against the Rams, but it didn't really hold David Montgomery back, so I think Jonathan Taylor will see an equal size workload. And if he can score a touchdown, then he'll definitely end up higher on this list, but I'm just not sure that happens, so that's why I've got him at number 11. At number 12, I trust Antonio Gibson this week against the Giants. Not the toughest defense on the ground. Melvin Gordon had a 70-yard touchdown run against them last week, so there's a chance for some high upside with Gibson, but I'm just keeping him at number 12. I think it'll be an average game for him. And then at number 13, a guy who really shocked me based on what I expected from last week. I thought San Francisco was really going to shut down this Detroit Lions team, but they had so much garbage time. It really didn't matter. I was worried about the groin injury, and that didn't look like it was hindering him at all. So I really like DeAndre Swift against the Green Bay Packers. Plenty of garbage time for him all season long, so he's going to be hovering around a top 15 play every single week. And I had him at 16 coming into the season in my rankings. I was just worried about that groin injury. He is really talented, so I am not worried about DeAndre Swift. I'm very confident. I've got him at number 13 this week. At number 14, a player who's going to see a very big workload as well, but not as easy of a matchup, Joe Mixon at Chicago. And I had him at number 6 last week in my rankings, and that paid off, but I'm just a little more concerned that Chicago can shut him down. And if he doesn't score a touchdown, then he may finish much lower than this. However, I think the workload for Joe Mixon is just not in jeopardy at this time. He's definitely healthy and good to go, so I can't rank him outside the top 15. That's why he's at number 14. Number 15, Elijah Mitchell, and there's just so much upside in the 49ers backfield. I've got to rank Elijah Mitchell inside the top 15. But this matchup isn't amazing. The Eagles did shut down the Falcons, but that was the Falcons, so I'm not really worried about it. And Mitchell got the bulk of the carries last week. We'll see if Trey Sermon is active and involved, but until I see that, I'm not willing to remove Mitchell from the top of this depth chart in San Francisco. But there is risk involved. You really can't predict Kyle Shanahan's play calling every single week. And if it wasn't for the injury, then Mitchell wouldn't have gotten that big of a workload. So it would have been more of a time split. He usually likes to use multiple backs. So we will see, but for now, I am putting Mitchell at the top of this backfield, and that's why I've got him at number 15. I really believe in the upside of this backfield. All right, so here's where the risk starts to creep in. At number 16, I've got Damian Harris of the New England Patriots going up against the Jets, and it's a really good matchup. Damian Harris just doesn't really catch that many passes, but I do think he's going to score a touchdown. And if he didn't fumble last week, he would have scored 13.5 PPR points. So Damian Harris is a player that I really trust, and he's definitely going to be consistently inside my top 20 rankings. Obviously, a little bit more of a downgrade in PPR formats, but I really think you can trust his workload. So much volume for Damian Harris, and he will score a touchdown sooner or later, and I think he could easily score more than 10 by the end of the year. Number 17 is Chris Carson, who's still getting a pretty sizable workload. Rashad Penny was a bit injured, so Chris Carson is good to go as the number 1. We're not worried about it, and Tennessee is not a matchup that scares you. He's my number 17 running back this week. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and he could very easily disappear yet again, but the floor I think is high enough to merit a top 20 ranking because the upside is just so high if he happens to really get involved. There's more risk when it comes to him, but I still trust him as a top 20 play. I've got him at number 18, but he's still just a little bit hard to trust as a clear top 15 option. We will see what the game script offers for him. And then number 19, Darrell Henderson is still the lead back in the Rams, but I'm not sure how long that lasts. I think it's a few more weeks, and until we see that changes, I don't think you can rank him outside the top 20, but this is a difficult matchup against Indianapolis, but I think the Rams will find a way to get him involved, and he looks pretty effective in the looks that he got. I'm just worried that Sony Michel starts to become more involved and this becomes a true committee, but for now, he's definitely a top 20 running back in my opinion. Javonte Williams had the most touches in Denver, and he's got an amazing matchup at Jacksonville, so even though this is a bit more of a committee than I would like, I think his touches are going to be very valuable in this game, and I really like Javonte Williams. The game script in the second half is really going to favor running the ball, so I think he's going to have a lot of work in the third and fourth quarter. I like Javonte Williams as my running back 20. Latavius Murray looks to be the lead back in Baltimore. There was a play that happened in Baltimore that didn't show up on the box score. However, it was a handoff to Tyson Williams, and he basically fumbled it. It fell on the ground, and Lamar Jackson recovered it. And if it would have been recovered by the other team, it would have been a Lamar Jackson fumble. But in reality, it was Tyson Williams who was responsible for that. Ever since that happened, Latavius Murray saw the overwhelming majority of the carries and the touches in that backfield. So I think Latavius Murray moving forward is definitely the guy you want in Baltimore. However, with so many mouths to feed, he's still a bit risky, but I think they're really going to want to run the ball against Kansas City, so that's why I have him at number 21. Latavius Murray is a very, very good flex option. An interesting low-end running back too, but I consider running back 21 and after to be flex territory. It's not as reliable as you'd like it to be. Miles Sanders saw a pretty good workload. He's definitely very talented. However, I think it's going to be a much more difficult game against San Francisco. They are much better than Atlanta, especially on defense and offense. So I don't know if the game script really favors Miles Sanders, but he saw a lot of work, and as long as he is involved in the red zone, then he has the talent to score a touchdown. And I like Miles Sanders as a flex option at number 22 this week. Chase Edmonds looked pretty good, and he was very involved in Arizona. However, like I said, I was worried that Kyler Murray would be the guy who scored the touchdown on the ground, and that was true last week. I'm a little worried that it happens again this week, but I think it's a very good matchup, and Chase Edmonds has that passing game role locked down, so I think that's why he's the most valuable running back in Arizona. But James Conner was getting a lot of looks too, so I think predicting the touchdown in Arizona is going to be a bit hard to predict, but this week I prefer Chase Edmonds over James Conner. I've got him at number 23. At number 24, Saquon Barkley at Washington on Thursday night. And I really want to bench him. This is going to be a tough matchup. He only saw 10 carries in that first game, not too many targets. I think they want to keep his workload under 15 touches per game for the first month, basically. And until that changes, it's going to be hard to rank Saquon Barkley inside the top 15. And at this week, it's a very tough matchup, so I'm very worried about it. I would much rather bench him, but odds are you kind of have to start him. I've got him at running back 24 in my rankings. Not excited about Barkley this week at all. And then number 25, a really good game against Houston. I think Kareem Hunt has a very high chance to score a touchdown. A pretty solid workload, around 10 plus rush attempts per game. It's going to be very easy for the Browns to run the ball in this game, so I really like both Browns running backs. Okay, and then outside the top 25, we've got some interesting names. James Robinson was not looking very good in Jacksonville, and Carlos Hyde was a lot more involved than you'd like to see. So the game script was not really helping him at all, and I think there might be a better chance this week, but I am definitely worried about James Robinson. I've got him at number 26, but there aren't that many starting running backs who are left available at this point, so that's why I still think James Robinson is a decent flex option. I've got him at number 26 this week. And then a couple of pseudo backups, but really like more of a timeshare players with very good matchups this week. James Conner versus Minnesota and Melvin Gordon at Jacksonville. They could easily see just as many touches as their counterparts, Chase Edmonds and Javonte Williams. However, I'm just a little bit more concerned that they are not as involved, but I think they're pretty good flex options as well, coming in at number 27 and 28. And then I don't really know what to think of this Buffalo backfield. I really thought that Zach Moss would play, but he was basically a healthy scratch like Trey Sermon. So I was just wrong about that, and that's why I've got Devin Singletary leading this backfield. And I have him at number 29. I'm a little bit worried about this matchup. Not the best against Miami, but if he's the starting running back, then he has value. And that's why I have to rank him inside the top 30. Same goes for Phillip Lindsay. I know that Mark Ingram was the guy that you wanted last week, but I really think the game script benefited Mark Ingram. All three running backs did score a touchdown, and I think there's going to be a lot more throwing downs in Houston this week, and that's why I prefer Phillip Lindsay. He is a good pass catcher, and I think he will offer the most value long term, but I am a little bit concerned about it. The floor is not as high as I thought it would be for Phillip Lindsay. And then at number 31, Myles Gaskin. He had a pretty good matchup last week against New England, and he didn't really capitalize on it. They have a firm committee. He's definitely at the lead of it. I don't think he's going to get more than like 12 touches per game, and that's really going to limit his upside. If he doesn't score a touchdown, he is not going to pay off. So 2 touchdown dependent for me, and unfortunately more of a committee than I had hoped. Tyson Williams I think will still be involved, but I'm just a little bit concerned about his role. But it's a pretty good matchup. They're definitely going to want to run the ball against Kansas City, so that's why I've got him at number 32. And then Josh Jacobs against Pittsburgh, he was looking really injured, and if it wasn't for those 2 touchdowns, he would not have paid off. So this is a very bad matchup, very difficult for Josh Jacobs against this great defensive front. So I am worried about it, and I think Kenyon Drake is a bit more involved in the passing game than you would like to see. So that's why I'm not excited about starting Josh Jacobs. Definitely, I prefer to have him on the bench this week. Leonard Fournette, I can't really decide who is the most valuable running back in Tampa Bay. They named Ronald Jones the starter this week, but they benched him so fast last week. It's like you either prove yourself in the first 2 drives and you don't fumble at all, or like we just don't trust you on any given play. So I'm a little bit worried about starting either Tampa Bay running back. I think I prefer Leonard Fournette just because of the pass catching ability. However, I've got both of them outside my top 30. Leonard Fournette at number 34, Ronald Jones at number 36, and Mike Davis in the same game between them against Tampa Bay. Really, really bad matchup. So I'm looking away from this game in terms of the running backs. I really don't want to start any of them, and Cordero Patterson was a lot more involved than I would have liked to see. After that are handcuffs, who have the chance to pop off, but basically they're a little bit more involved than other backup running backs. They usually average between like 8 to 10 touches a game, and they do have some upside. So like Tony Pollard, Kenyon Drake, A.J. Dillon, and Naheem Hines as a few dart throw options. And then really late outside, I'm interested to see what Trey Sermon can offer, what Sony Michel can do. James White is interesting. Mark Ingram, I want to see what happens there too. But otherwise, the only other player I'm interested in, like, going to watch for is Zach Moss. I don't know what the fuck is going to happen. I really hope he plays, but if he doesn't, then I'm probably going to have to drop him in the league that I do have him. I was really excited about Zach Moss, so that's very unfortunate. All right, so that's going to wrap up my running back rankings. I'll leave these up through the credits so you can take a pretty good look at it. If you have any questions on your start-sit decisions for any players on your roster, go ahead and leave me a comment down below. I'll be happy to offer my opinion. My name is Adam Riancho, and thank you for watching Nice and Blunt.